I think the government just panicked, and specifically the president just panicked, because if you also refer to the speech that he gave on Tuesday, June the 25th, it was a very, very alikuwa na maasira mingi sana you remember that speech where he called Kenyans criminals, he called us treasonous criminals, and he vowed to
I like
whether Kenya walikuwa wanibamba because your night after he gave that speech Kenyans walikuwa wanaambiana good night fellow criminals.
Good morning
my fellow criminals. So even from those protests, as in they still did not listen to us, they still did not listen to the protesters,
because the conversation now was ati sasa tumewasikia hiyo bill wacha ipite hii mwaka, next year ndio tutaongea. Like what the hell? If there's something that the current regime has proven to us is that they cannot be trusted with any decision making that affects Kenyans. If we trust them, it will be to our own detriment. So now this is just a call to everyone who has been doing that. For the next foreseeable future, we need to just go through all these bills that are coming to us, all these amendments, all this information yenye wanangangana kutengenezea huko juu, na inakuja inatucharaza huko chini. Si tu tunajipata ati real estate
ilishapita kitambo.
Kazi ya bwana tunajua ni kutafuta pesa na kuleta whatever.
Ya bibi ni kutumia pesa.
Bibi ni kutumia pesa.
The president never listens, because you had someone say here on TV that the president never listens to even his advisors. He's actually the one who advises his advisors on how to advise him. Nyinyi wa South Africa mungetupatia Julius Malema bana.
Julius Malema tuwaonyeshe vile hii mambo inafanywanga. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to our YouTube channel. You are, of course, hanging out with the realest
OG in the building, and of course, I'm hanging out with my main man,
Haron Mumuli,
the
right
one
here.
and only.
Mom, guys, how are you?
Bedo ushaipata na mse mwingine anajua jina yako?
Haron Mumuli. Nimepata na Haron peke yake, sijaipata na Mumuli.
Haron Mumuli, si ndio?
No, hakuna Haron Mumuli, sijapata.
Mimi bedhe nishaipata na
Githinji Mburu. Uongo. Inakuanga weird.
Ni weird sana by the way, like Allah.
Sasa mimi every time I found someone who has my name Haron, wachana Mumuli is unique, I think. They're always younger than me. So this one time nilipata haraka jamaa kazee kuniliko kanaitwa Haron. So unajua hiyo time nyingine unajustify unasema haka nini kama niko
Haron.
So hapo ilibidi nijihambo liko sawa. Hapa kumbe si ati ni mimi ndio. Si mimi OG.
Yeah. But funny, but true, Mumuli is very unique. Actually, wewe you're the first Mumuli nilishaipatana naye. Na sijaipatana na mtu mwingine anaitwa by the Mumuli, funny enough. That's
no, come on.
Okay, now your family, of course, yeah. But your other than your family, I don't know any other Mumuli.
Okay.
Yeah.
Me, I think nimepatana na Githinji, sijaipatana na Githinji Mburu. That must be very unique as well.
Sijaipatana na yeye niko like Allah. Alafu unajua pia venye mse uenda like kuregister jina yako maybe kani Instagram, Gmail, and then unaweka Githinji Mburu unaambiwa it's taken. Unajaribu Mburu Githinji taken pia.
Like ukisema ati okay, let me use my name, unaambiwa 98. So I'm 98 hapa.
But at least yako naonanga iko tu actually zote Instagram, Twitter zote like sidhani utapata kuna mse mwingine anatumia hiyo jina Haron Mumuli, which is very unique. So anyway, how have you been?
I've been good. Imekuwa tena wiki ingine, it's just been a long week.
Yeah, you know.
Hizi mawiki
zimekuwa kuna baridi lakini zimekuwa na events mingi sana. A lot has been happening especially in the country manzi. But yeah,
we move on.
Yeah.
Okay. And
but I've been good. It's been a busy week for me, especially sai because we are tunaenda kumaliza financial year. And then
peak
my returns nini taxes. Sai ndo wase wengi wanafanya hizo majob, so sai imekuwa very very busy week for me on my end. But of course nimepata time ya keep up na what is happening in the country, what has been happening.
Are you able to afford not to this day?
Manze wezi because everywhere unaingia ukiingia Twitter
to stay locked in.
Hakuna kitu kingine unaona. Ukienda TikTok ni story tu na country yani kila mtu ako
we hata watu waliamua this is the rock that you wear. Watu waliamua okay walinivo.
But I like it by the way because like a lot of people wamekuwa na interest, they've shown interest in in politics of the country, what has been happening in the country, not just watu wa Kenya, like even internationally.
But I actually agree with you because the number of international influencers I have seen even just mention about what's happening in Kenya is crazy. Alafu ni majina bigi naangalia unaza kume. But I don't mess with Kenya and social media, don't mess. What?
Hey, Kenya, by the way, joke. Kenyans are very serious when it comes to
And I like how it hasn't just been we are all locked in on social media, then ikifika kwa ground ni empty coffers.
Exactly.
Imekuwa uko na uko
bad.
Because once you have this down here, you also have to ensure otherwise you'll still be exploited. Okay, so
actually that will form part of what we are talking about today. Major part of today's conversation. And but before we get there, of course we just like to appreciate you guys for the support that you still showing us.
Growth too kanakaa interesting. I'm hoping it's not a sigmoid curve now, but exponential.
This one I'm niko na hope now, like it's and then it's very organic. Ni kama tu wenye majenzi wamekuwa wakijiorganize pale online nini, so ka growth pia ketu kana follow your trend, and we really appreciate you guys for just sticking with us and watching the content, giving us feedback, and of course subscribing to the channel. So just keep
up with the good work. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing. You can also comment, because again, as we mentioned, see at whatever we talk about is the say all be all. There are a lot of perspectives. The perspectives we've shared is based on our experiences. You can also share your input that we'll build up on, and if you're keen to follow up with the episodes that we've been generating, sometimes if your comment hit as in ka certain level, by the way tunakuwa na honorable mention. We'll just say by the way someone last time stopped me, ama someone commented na akasema and it was very interesting. So if you're watching us for the first time, welcome to the community. If you are ordinary, kawe ordinary manze, you're the realest OGs. Achana morio hapa.
I agree.
You're the realest OG. Keep at it. Anything you can weigh in, we'll really appreciate.
For sure. So I think election happens in euros, other than maybe the politics of Kenya. But funny enough, we've been so invested in the Kenyan politics and what has been happening that hata mtu anasahau that kuna vitu kaa euros inaendelea kina F1 manzara mtu akumbuki by the
so invested.
So me personally, I haven't even had time to watch any of those games, of course, because I've been quite busy, but pia because what has been happening in the country. But just highlights, Germany walitoa, I think it's Denmark, waliwachapa 2-0 jana, waliwatoa Germany ndio host, so on to the quarterfinals. And then Italy manze walichujwa na Switzerland manze, that was the and then Italy are the defending champs, so that was quite ilikuwa surprising by the way. So acha tuone when itaendelea. I think leo England wanacheza na Slovakia, if I'm not wrong.
Inacheza saa ngapi?
I think ni saa 4 if I'm not wrong.
Za usiku
Kwanza. But mbaya kesho ni Monday, so hiyo sijika.
No, but wase watch.
Wase watch.
People wanasemanga hii lazima. This is my church, so achana na niende kanisa.
True.
On F1, so for me,
umepata time ya kufollow up?
Yes, jana I was very keen because we had sprints for Austria GP. So they had the sprints zili happen jana, and by the way, it's too bad to same old. But it was very interesting that ukiona now the gaps between Red Bull and the rest of the teams are really closing up. I like that. Back then, let me not even say back then, if you look at last year, gap ya Red Bull, even if it was 23 laps, because unaona sprints is slightly shorter than even if it was 23 laps, ulikuwa unapatana amewacha watu kama 20 seconds ile yenye mpaka anaweza amua acha niende KTH 80 kwa sababu hakuna but the gaps have gotten really close, which means you're watching the races and they're a lot more interesting than they were before. And that's all I can say.
Max bado ameshikilia.
Max, but we can see the empire crumbling. Itashuka mahali.
This is uncle
Zakayo hiyo pande itashuka.
Zakayo
kila mahali azina.
By the way, mi pia naweza nice manze Max akishuka. Max ame dominate sana.
No, but the truth is he hasn't dominated as much, because ukiangalia Ham had dominated 7 times, as in unashinda year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, year 6, year 7. I think Max now is in year 4. Is it 3 or 4?
I think
it should be 4.
Yeah, 4.
Correct me if I'm wrong, F1 fans. But year 4. So akipitisha 7 ndo tunasema huyu jamaa
sasa ni good
but acha tuone
vile
again. My eyes are on 2025, because that's when now Hamilton will move over to Ferrari. Tuone kama shida ilikuwa engine ama ilikuwa
gari ndio ilikuwa shida ama mwenyewe.
I'm hoping that's not the case. But it's still interesting. Sasa
wacha we'll still keep tabs on F1, but hapo unajua wewe ndio unakwanga like wewe OG manze, wewe ndio uni school kidogo, because I'm still still kindergarten when it comes to your phone, but najaribu like kuelewa vizuri.
For me, napitiaga tu, as in usually most of the time yenye the races are najipataga there's nothing I'm doing, so I'll be like but for this year I've been very busy. Alafu pia na mambo ya what's happening in Kenya and everywhere else, because like we haven't even ever talked about Kendrick's beef. Shout out to now all the other things that are happening. That's what I was saying last episode. It's an interesting year. A lot is happening. You're like, am I alive?
What a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive. Artist Beyonce ame-release what's this song? Country music.
Country,
very interesting. But hizo ni vitu hatuwezi ongelea. Tushaongelea, but we move regardless.
So today we like I mentioned, we're just continuing what we started, the topic that we started last week, which is just Gen Z politics, what has been happening in the country. So it's just a continuation of that, and more or less we're doing a recap of the events of the past week. And we see where we're going from
where we are, because again just within that week a lot has happened, and it might be diluted because we've seen that so many people have come to the media, not social media but media in general, to put forward their own narratives of what is happening, what has been missed and whatnot. But I think it's only fair that we also share what we have seen through our own lenses. And again, as we've always mentioned, CRT, whatever we're talking about is say all be all. If you feel that we've left something out, that we've missed a step somewhere, you can always share your input, and I know this will be part of the public information, because in Kenya I don't think social media is locked yet. Bado tuko
not yet. But okay, but your story on social media, actually I think ilikuwa June 25th, when that day that kulikuwa na fracas mbaya, people invade waliingia parliament and stuff like that. I think your day, at some point,
it was. The truth is, it was.
Yes.
In my opinion, it was. Because the narrative that was being put forward. I know in Kenya, a bit of context, in Kenya, a lot of people, Safaricom is a huge company in Kenya. Has monopoly over communication, because a lot of people have their SIM cards. A lot of people, in summary, have their mobile carrier. So if you're calling, let's say even 7 times out of 10 you're calling using a Safaricom number. If you're connected to the internet, then let's say 6 times out of 10 you're using Safaricom internet and whatnot. So
if it's mobile money, it's Safaricom.
Mobile money, that's even 9.5 times out of 10 you're using Safaricom. That's M-Pesa. So I think on the 25th, was it?
June 25th,
June 25th, immediately after the demonstrations, people are still riled up, and everyone was like going online to see what has happened, to just take account of what has happened, or even share about what has happened. But was it 7 p.m?
I think for me, because I was following the events on Citizen TV, like ile yenye mseo stream live. At some point, I think 5 ilikata, like by the ilizima kabisa.
You couldn't connect.
I tried, okay, of course. I tried going to X, formerly Twitter. X was also down, like, and X is where like you get your, if you want
real time, if you want anything real time, go to X. Hizi zingine kuna kalag flani, but real time conversations where you are seeing, by the way, a lot of people are concerned about this, just go to X and see what's trending, right? So ikafika point, me by there even, I almost gave up, but nilifika and I was like, hiya, because I remember I got home at about 5 p.m. 5 p.m. because again I was coming from Nairobi, mambo ya kazi, maandamano and all that. Kafika kwa nyumba, like, wait, I'm opening my app. So me app inaniambiaga loading messages. Then ukiangalia post, the latest one is from 2 days ago. I'm like, what? What is happening?
I know.
So I went over, switched on. So actually what worked for me now is I switched on VPN to be able to see my tweets. But sasa now I noticed, was it no, it wasn't Denmark, it was some other country. Was it France? I think it was France. So I think most of the people in Kenya had switched to VPN ya France. So now what's trending in France is reject finance bill 2024, which was funny to think. So because it's either diaspora ya France imechangamka.
Yote manze imechangamka, reject finance bill.
Kila mtu
amedandia VPN ya nini.
But it was very unfortunate because I know for some people VPN is not immediately available to them, and they've actually made payments to Safaricom and whatever to just ensure that wakona uptime, to they have internet connectivity to the various platforms that are concerned. And the reason I was saying it was intentional, CRT, there were connection challenges, is immediately there was an issue. There's one statement that was presented, I think it was in the I can't quote it verbatim, but ilikuwa kitu kama ati we're facing internet connectivity challenges due to deep sea cut cables, and it has happened before, because I remember, like, is it a month or a month and a half ago, cables from deep sea were cut, and it took about, actually it's 2 months ago, it took about a month and a half to sort them out. But here hapa
Yeah, hapa actually kuna mseniliona online sijui ati ameenda kwa I don't know whether ni site gani ama ni nini gani hawa sewa hizo ma deep sea cables and then aka confirm that cables hazikuwa
hakuna cables
zimekatwa, so the nini ilikuwa like within Kenya.
And if you actually were keen to notice, ilikuwa certain platforms that weren't working, so that's why I'm saying it was intentional, but that's just
because for me I noticed it was X, my X haikuwa inafanya, and then net yangu pia ilikuwa slow, as in ilikuwa unashindwa ni nini mbaya na net, like kitu ungeeka tu load haraka ina lag. So actually I nilingia WhatsApp nika-update nikasema mimi tu ndio sina net ama ni kitu watu wamezima, and then a lot of guys responded, they're like by the pia mimi net sina, pia mimi net haifanyi, my net is down nini. So I was like okay sawa. And then funny enough, I think like a day before that there's a podcast I was watching, it's Kenyan podcast naitwa Iko Nini by a guy called Mwafrika.
Shout out
and Rapture, shout out by the to those guys. So the day before, June 24th, they walikuwa wanaongelea leo story, they were asking, will the government really shut down internet in Kenya? And then they were showing like WhatsApp messages extracts there by masiju senators, the high ups, yeah. And then the high ups, okay, actually they're not even high ups, kwa hizi viti. So they were saying that we are having a problem with social media, like guys are mobilizing everything through their X and whatnot, so we really need to like
do something about
it. And then a female senator there said, why don't we just zima ikitu for like a day or two? And I think others there supported it. They said, okay, yeah, we need to do that. And then the following day, June 25th, now when protests zilikuwa serious, guys went walingia parliament and stuff, ininika ika go down. So I was like, so these guys were actually serious about this thing. So yeah, and I think actually so niliona CEO wa Safaricom amekuja hapo kwa teli akasema ati sijui nini, because guys actually accused Safaricom online. If you went to X, uliona so alikuwa na accuse Safaricom, by the way, you guys, why are you doing this? Are you like siding with the government, and we are really fighting serious stuff here? And then I think
whatever we are fighting for affects everyone, including
it affects you even and your customers. We are your customers, and whatever we are fighting for affects us and you. And plus in that bill there was like an increase in excise duty, so which can lead to increase in data, money kutuma hizo transaction cost and things like that. So it's affecting them, and for them, even for them, when during the public participation they had actually input, and they said no, this bill apana, it's really going to have a very negative impact. Yes. So guys were like, why would you like side with that, considering everything, and then I think at some point the CEO had to come out and say, no, we did not do that. Whatever you're hearing on social media is it's not true, and things like that.
So that actually feeds into the major reason I'm saying it was intentional, because if you look at whatever the CEO mentioned, I think I watched that same video.
Yeah,
it wasn't aligning with the statement they had published.
Yeah,
because initially the published statement was we're facing challenges with fiber cables in the deep sea.
Yeah,
but when the CEO of Safaricom came in to just share his input, he was talking about bandwidth limits that were being that had been reached. You see, whenever you in theory it's true that if you exceed your bandwidth limit, you would experience something of that sort, that tuseme if your bandwidth is hata tumie tu example ya nyumba ndogo kama hii, if I'm using 20 mbps let's say
nyumba ndogo kweli
tumeonyeshwa manyumba hapa, so clearly ni kibanda. But yeah, if I'm capping, if my bandwidth is 20 mbps for example, nitumie applications, tuseme niamue kutumia applications kama torrent, Twitter, nini then nifikie so far consumption yangu ifike 19.9 mbps. Si unaona, that's very close to 20 mbps.
Yeah.
The next application I would want to use with the current consumption of 19.9 would face a lot of would struggle to load. So unakaa YouTube, you're struggling with like 1 kbps to have it load, which would face that same challenge. So because hakukuwa na consistency in their communication from the get-go, that's why I'm saying that's very sus. It's very suspicious.
Very suspicious, yeah. And by the way, I don't know, unajua nani, do you know that government actually holds shares in Safaricom? No? They do. So they it's partly owned by government, but there's an interesting thing I saw on KTN. Ule mse alikuwa anasoma news at some point, alikuwa anasema I think that same June 25th, if not June 25th then 24th. I remember her saying that we have been, let me say, threatened. We have received threats from the government.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, about
we are currently receiving, we are continuously receiving threats about whatever content we are airing. Exactly. But we would like to mention that we will stay vigilant because news still needs to be reported.
Yes.
And okay, kuna watu wenye wanafaa tu apigiwe makofi.
Wanafaa makofi cause hey, like, you know, and by that it's sad, by that, to be honest. Okay, by that, shout out to KTN, if you guys received those threats but you just say it, no freedom of speech first, you will still
these are our constitutional rights, as in easy non-negotiables.
Yes.
I work somewhere where one of the conversations is there are non-negotiables. So it is good that Kenyans know that there are non-negotiables that are stipulated in the constitution, that by that fight kwa tunabishana. If I have said that I want to peacefully protest, my right is for your protection. That's in the aspect of the expectation of a protester to the police. So unless I act against the constitution, then it is more or less that you can treat me in a way that now will help ensure, let me say, I don't want to say stability, but maintain peace in some sorts. But that still doesn't mean that you have to take away any of my other rights, right? And it's very interesting. I'm telling you, the current affairs have turned us into civic educators, civic researchers, political analysts. Yenye unaangalia kile someone is saying and you're like, let me fact check it, because kuna ingine watu wanatubeba kimayai. You're just looking at how people are talking and you're like, apana, something is off right there. But najua we've tangented off.
No, it's still inaingiliana tu na whatever it is we wanted to talk about, because we were going to talk about you know that at some point. But hizo protests za Tuesday 25th, Tuesday June 25th, that one was historic by the way, because I remember even watching the news that day, that evening, like every news anchor was just starting with it has
never been like
it has never been
hasn't
like
ever been like
you
know. I was in town.
Ala, naziku kuona kwa social media mapicha news
pictures. No, but I'm a private person. I'm multifaceted. Relax down. Nataka kupusha
jana kama mmejifunga mmevaa mask.
I am telling you, it was packed. It was packed on all directions. Vitu zenye niliona, I don't think actually it is very true when they say it hasn't ever been like this before.
It has never,
because I think ile strategy yenye walikuwa wanatumia was now in comparison, because I remember Tuesday ndio ilikuwa like was it Tuesday that was the climax?
Tuesday was the climax.
Yeah. If you look at Thursday, by the Thursday people had rallied. I think Thursday as well nilipitia town. I usually walk around town, so I am fortunate or unfortunate to be in town sometimes. So nikisikia nimekasirika nitainua tu placards na nirudi job mbio. Niseme gama. So the previous Thursday, a lot of people had managed to get into town and just do the peaceful protests. By the way, it was very peaceful the previous Thursday.
Yeah.
So on Tuesday, whatever happened, it would be I was in awe, because now what I witnessed ni saa mi kile niliona. Walikuwa sasa wacha nikuambie kile niliona. Relax. Ilikuwa they had employed some strategies, because I think walikuwa wamesema now just thinking about what was happening, I'm not sure that's what they had communicated, but it looks like their plan was no one should get into city center. So city center everywhere around town. So ukiangalia the main roads that were feeding into town, kulikuwa na blockades. So like kulikuwa na the police trucks, as in makarao walikuwa na ngoja, and they would stop you. So main roads, so meaning Ngong Road, Jogoo Road, Thika Road, Wayaki Way, sorry, zile barabara zingine zote zenye nimesahau kumention, just mention them in the comments. But walikuwa wamestation makarao in all those roads, just to stop Kenyans or protesters from getting to the city center. It did not work. How watu walikuwa wengi. How watu
walikuwa wengi by the way.
Nilikuwa nasema we. And by the time I was leaving, I'm telling you, people are still marching to town, because I remember at some point nilikuwa natumia, acha nisitaje majina, but one of the routes I was trying to use to now get back home was Wayaki. We had to do a U-turn because crowd ilikuwa inakuja. So we did U-turns like 2 or 3 times just to try and figure out which way we want to take to get home, because people are still marching. And time yenye nilikuwa narudi was late in the afternoon. So ilikuwa like 3 p.m. It was
but it was that was a day like very missy, hata miss Jeona like deka yote na. And then I think the one thing that the major highlights of that day zilikuwa, one, people were able to get into parliament, and part of the parliament buildings, part of it ilikuwa set on fire. And then I think the other major highlight of the day, which was very sad, was the people that actually lost their lives, which was very sad, to be honest, because and for me, because you know me, I was watching it live on TV up until I think K5. That is when everything, I think internet ikapotea and stuff. But at that point when they started like firing live bullets, that one was
it's very unfortunate.
It's very unfortunate by the way.
It is very unfortunate, especially when you consider that unaona, even when you go through the information that was online, everyone was very categorical that, hey, this is your kit. Unaona wanasemanga kit ya maandamano ndio hii. Walikuwa wamesema maji, public face mask, kwa sababu tear gas wamesema chili flavor wanaleta Pro Max this round, and what not. Na ukiangalia kwa hiyo kit, there's nothing there that was speaking to violence, which now would warrant whatever happened, because now I did not get that far, but then from what I've seen online, there were some what do they call them, kulikuwa na snipers. Imagine mpaka now I'm trying to figure out hizo terms. There were snipers stationed strategically, who I think had received instructions to just shoot to kill. Alafu unajua it's very unfortunate because hizo ni vitu zenye tunaonanga kwa combat. We shouldn't be witnessing that in a functional country.
Me by the that for me was really really sad. As in, and then the funny thing is, the sad part is, like these are unarmed protesters. Like you're saying, the only thing that these people had, a bottle of water, maybe a handkerchief, and maybe placards.
Placards,
like nothing else. Why would even if someone is throwing stones at you, as in that does not warrant you to like open fire, like live
rounds at you, na si ati wamekufikia. And I like I was also going through the content online on now what our rights are as far as protesting and as far as all these things are concerned, and I like what someone was mentioning, which is a callback to the conversation we're having earlier, that let's say, for example, I'm a protester. As I've mentioned, my right is for your protection. If you're an officer, if you're a police officer, you need to protect me. Non-negotiable.
Yes.
Higher. If you notice that I am protesting in violation with any other law of the land, your obligation as an officer is to deter my protest to the limit, whatever I'm violating. But you are not supposed to infringe on any other of my rights. And you are supposed to take an approach of de-escalation. CRT. So if you look at how all this was handled, there's a conversation we need to have about our police. There's a serious issue that we have when it comes to our police. But I think even the more serious issue here is, because obviously police do not just act they obviously act on instructions, orders. Command,
Yes. So of course, for them to like decide we need to like open fire on these guys, it's hard to hizo orders lazima zilikuwa zimetoka from somewhere. So higher up, of course. So for me, that was, I think, hiyo kitu ilinibo sana, and I think part of the reason why even the international media and everyone else around the world alikuwa interested na hizi protest, especially on that day, it's because of
how it was being addressed
by the police. Yes, they did not address it well, to be honest, because like you're saying, you're supposed to deter the protesters. If you see that they have become violent, if you see that they have started like maybe destroying property and something like that, they have infringed on other people's rights, then the thing you're supposed to do is to deter them from doing that. But you're not supposed to get to a point where you're also infringing on their right to life, especially. But you're in non-negotiable. My right to life, because if we are not alive, all these other rights do not exist. So if you get to the point where you that one by there was really sad, and I think it was like 22 or 23 people who died on that June 25th. They did not. Yes.
Wenye tu tuna by the way tunasema fallen but not forgotten. But part of the conversation now needs to be, how does the police address the citizens? How do they operate? Because now I don't know if we can now fast forward to the conversation that immediately happened.
It's fine.
Because I remember now what came after was the National Assembly gazetted that now Waite Defense Forces, who immediately came in to now support.
And by the we also need to clarify that they came in unconstitutionally, because they were deployed on that June 25th evening, to just come and calm things down, but our tumekuwa lawyers, political analysts, tunachambua hizi vitu by the side Kenya really watu wamesoma the constitution na laws zote
tunachambua hapa. You're wearing multiple hats in one sitting.
And funny thing, kitambo maybe during era ya Moi, Kibaki and even Uhuru, hasa wangefanya vitu kaa hizi, they would have deployed the KDF hivyo tu, and then guys would not have questioned. But now you do something like that, Kenyans are like, hey, wait,
tell me where it says
yes.
you are supposed to do it.
Yes.
Because
yes.
now I remember the conversation nilikuwa pia nafuatilia these days. There's this meme ya huyu jamaa mzae mwenye amesimama na mikono nyuma
akiwatch TV
news.
Jaribu kuguza hiyo remote atutoe.
Imagine tumefika huko, now you're still see bado tu ni
bado si vijana wadogo, Gen Zs tu hapa. Vijana wa 2000 2001
unajipata huko. But part of the conversation that I saw being had was constitutionally, what are the scenarios in which you declare a state of emergency? Because if you look at how the KDF was deployed in all counties, kana scary mambo nasema tu.
But that one was Nani. And I think Nani, I don't know whether it's the Law Society of Kenya, which I went to court society immediately the following day to challenge that decision to deploy the KDF. But I think the following day as well, because the executive realized that, okay, we have just rushed this decision of deploying the KDF without following the proper channels. I think they convened parliament the following day, and they introduce hiyo nini, because I think lazima uintroduce hiyo motion we need to deploy KDF. It has to be passed by the National Assembly. So I think they did it, they passed it, and you remember they did not allow, like, you know, that those proceedings to be aired live ama to be recorded. So it was just behind closed doors. You know, usually we see parliament tunaionanga live hapa kwa TV, you know, proceedings and nini, motions and stuff. That day they did not do that. So it was just behind closed doors, no media, and apparently it was passed within, I think, a record 30 minutes. And Sierra, you had it was reported in the media that kulikuwa na some MPs fought kidogo, walipigana juu hiyo story.
I saw at Julia State. But unaona,
but they passed it eventually.
Part of the analysis that was there was that, okay, when you talk about part of why you are deploying Kenya Defense Forces on your own citizens is if you're it's a state of emergency. But unaona Kenya,
there's no uko na state of emergency hapo, to be honest. In all honesty, I think the government just panicked, and specifically the president just panicked, because if you also refer to the speech that he gave on Tuesday, June the 25th, it was a very alikuwa na maasira mingi sana you remember that speech where he called Kenyans criminals, he called us treasonous criminals, and he vowed to
I like
whether Kenya walikuwa ni bamba, because hiyo night after he gave that speech, Kenyans walikuwa wanaambiana, hey, good night fellow criminals.
Good morning
my fellow criminals. But that speech, actually I felt that the president only missed a very good opportunity of just calming things down,
bringing people together. But unaona, in that entire conversation, it has been a continuous misstep by the government in general, because what has led to even the protests is that ukiangalia from the get-go, no one has been listening. That we started from the get-go, tukasema this bill doesn't need to move forward. Okay, wakasema hawa ni watoto wadogo wenye hawajui kile wanasema.
They don't know what they are saying.
Tumekuwa tukipitisha bills for the past every single year tangu sijui 1990s. Hii itapita hata wapenda wasipende. Ikaenda first reading, guys were like, it's like I wasn't loud enough, let me be slightly louder. Sasa ikakuwa now wenye wanaenda hizo protest wenye wanasema tusipitishe, wako kwa mauba, wamebeba kuku sijui KFC sijui manini na ma iPhone. And guys were like, it's like I wasn't loud enough the second time around. And if you look at all that, these are opportunities for the MPs to listen to their people, because everyone was very loud. And if you go on any space or anywhere, I am sure hakuna MP hapa mahali mwenye atakaa chini na aseme I did not get communication from any of my citizens mwenye alikuwa anasema reject.
Yes.
Because with all the effort that has been put by people on social media and everywhere else to inform the MPs, hakuna vile mtu atasema.
The message was loud and clear by the way.
Don't pass it.
Yes, don't pass it. Even from last week, I think last week but one, zile protests za kwanza, the ones that were very peaceful by the nothing serious happened.
I would say they have all been peaceful
by the so even from those protests, as in they still did not listen to us, they still did not listen to the protesters,
because the conversation now was ati sasa tumewasikia hiyo bill wacha ipite hii mwaka, next year ndio tutaongea. Like what the hell?
I'm just scared bado. So and like you're saying, it has been very clear. The message has been loud and clear, but they just chose to ignore it. Ama they thought that these kids were not serious. They were just making noise kidogo and then they'll get tired. We shall still pass the bill as we have, passed it in the previous, I don't know how many years. But shock on them, June 25th came. The protest was very serious. They still decided to pass it.
They still passed it because now going back to the events is immediately to walipitisha hivi bill, because again if you look at the process in how they now took it to second reading and all that. It was very rushed. Ilikuwa very
especially your second reading very rushed by the way.
So by the time they walikuwa tu wanasema imepita, nayo all the protesters that had managed to get into town walikuwa wamefika parliament, now walikuwa wanang'ang'ania kuingia hiyo parliament. And sasa ilikuwa we've just voted, we need to evacuate because it looks like the protesters have gotten to parliament and they're looking like they'll penetrate. Now unaona hapa, these are people who are very agitated by the decisions of the people they employed to represent them. Because again, if you look at the roles of an MP, legislate, act as the people's representative. Because we mentioned last episode and oversight that kazi yako, mi nikikuita Githinji na nikuweke kama MP, unafaa uende usikize consensus, useme okay, watu wangu wanataka hii, so I can't vote yes. But ile yenye whatever we've been seeing online yenye mtu tu anasema ati
total disregard for
hakuna kitu watu wangu wananiambia, I want to tell you, you know nothing. How are you telling me you know how to run my life?
So I think hiyo asira pia ndio ilifanya wase wakatana up your day na and they expressed their frustration. And I think like we are saying that day culminated in ile speech and tulisikia ya president, which for me
was
actually something else that really bothered me with that speech is that he did not even address the people that the families of the people that lost their lives,
massacred. What you saying, they had been massacred.
He did not even reprimand the police for using excess force
in the protest. Because we were all seeing what was happening.
We were.
And it was being were.
So for him, I think he was just focusing on power, just mejaribu kuja ku mess na
ini bili yangu ni mimi ndio nimetuma. And I think that also falls into part of the conversation that now is going on, that unaona if now we are getting a sense of the executive has a control of all the other arms of government, which should not be the case, because when that happens in a country, then whatever one person says becomes runs
there's no separation
of powers. And if you look at the Kenyan constitution, power needed to be separated in some way, shape or form, so that isiwe tu mtu mmoja mwenye akisema akisneeze the whole of Kenya catches a cold. There needs to be some sort of balance. And what it looks like up until now, and I will say imekaa mpaka leo, currently it doesn't look like there's any separation of power.
There is no.
It's either they've been bought, it's either they have been bought, it's either something has happened that when you turn to this arm, it looks like they're reporting to executive. When you turn to this other arm, it also looks like they're reporting to the executive.
By the way, that is a very interesting point that you brought up there, because like we are saying, the executive maybe imeleta your bill, they've introduced the bill, and then it's supposed to go through parliament, and then parliament, like you're saying, is supposed to offer the oversight, the checks and balances to say, okay, yes,
underline represent the people, because the assignment they failed and they keep on failing is representing the people.
They failed there completely. And there's a MP, Juja MP. I saw him speak, I think, at a certain function the other day, and he was saying, this is according to him, he was saying that MPs were given 2 million shillings to vote yes. Every MP was given 2 million shillings. This is an MP saying this, by the way. So those that voted yes, each was given 2 million shillings. So we are saying, as in, it's either these guys have been bought, ama
they've been scared into not representing or something else has happened that we have lost the balance that needs to be there. And there's a conversation that we're also having in the background of the role of judiciary in all this.
By the way, the judiciary, it has been like very quiet by the like especially by the me I expected, considering that people lost their lives. I think 22 or 23 people lost their lives. And with everything that has happened, deployment of the KDF, the judiciary imenyamaza sana.
One of its role, I think we should mention, also, please just help us interpret the constitution. Kama tumeipata wrong,
for the lawyers in the house,
for the lawyers in the
advocates,
tunajua we
senior counsel,
we converse with intellects in this recording. But one of the roles of the judiciary is also to defend against infringement of rights.
Yes.
So especially in a scenario like this where it is evident, and even if you're going to say that we're waiting for the reports from IPOA to just share that rights are being infringed, currently it already looks like they have been infringed. Sisi wenye tuko chini tuko sure imehappen. Tuseme judiciary was waiting for a valid source yenye itasema watu wanateswa, their rights are being infringed. They needed to have said something, right? But they haven't done anything to that report.
So yes, the judiciary, they needed to, because it's clear that
you need to speak against it, because again, if you look at, let me call out, not even call out, refer to a conversation. One of the people who has also been very vocal about what is happening is John Allan Amu, and if you look at one of his recordings, one of his content that he's shared was whatever is being put forward will affect everyone, people and organizations alike, because ukiangalia hizo taxes zina charaza kila mtu. Okay, elites probably hataguswa kwa sababu tulikuwa tunaona caps, in reference to our last episode, it might be a drop in the ocean to them, but for everyone else it will be hell on earth, right? What he was querying was, why aren't these organizations taking a stance as well? Waseme that, by the way, this is wrong and we are not supporting this at all. I like that some of the public spaces, not even public spaces, some of the organizations have come to draw the line, like we were seeing Dagoretti High versus, now I'll call it versus the MP of Dagoretti South, wakisema please note that whatever he's doing does not represent our beliefs, what we have taught our students, what we represent as alumni. Wachana nayo, huyo mbakishe hiyo pande yake, he is not part of us. Unaona ile distancing and disowning whatever you've done, because let's call it as it is. They're doing wrong, So why aren't these huge organizations in the space that are currently reaping the benefits of the space, why aren't they speaking out in such scenarios? And now tying it to the conversation that we're having now, the judiciary also has that same role, because for them one of their roles is also to defend against rights infringement, and it hasn't been as large scale as it is right now. Why aren't they doing that as well? Because hapa tu hata kama I don't want to name call, but hapo kuna mtu tu anafaa atoke na aseme, by the way, with what we're seeing, something needs to change, and we're calling out so and so to ensure that hata kama ni interior ama whoever you want to call out, to ensure that at least some form of balance is maintained, and some form of, I don't want to call it decorum, but some form of as in, let's respect the laws of the
law,
land.
But Apo, I think for me, I'll just call out Chief Justice Martha Koome, because for her, she's the head of the judiciary. I'll call her out, because I think even the Law Society of Kenya called her out, and they asked, why is the judiciary quiet on some of these issues that are happening in the country, and everything is clear, we can all see what is happening. So why are they not like coming out and speaking against it?
Yes. And unaona, because this is the time to now show your powers, show your role, show your role in maintaining the balance that the constitution has. Our constitution imesema, by the way, judiciary, wewe ndio nimeweka nyinyi watatu, judiciary, legislature and executive. Tumeweka nyinyi watatu. Wewe utahakikisha huyu akioverreact unamrudisha in check. Huyu mwingine utahakikisha huyu akiover, right?
But it wasn't there by the way. And I think, call back like a few months ago, there's a time that, you remember when we had was it the
elections?
No, was it the NHIF? NHIF to SHIF, and then Pia there was the housing levy issue. Remember, people went to court and they challenged it, and then I think at some point the court said, okay, this thing, it's unconstitutional, we need to just pause kidogo na. And then the president was, very vocal. It's like alianza campaign tena. He started going all around the country saying, no, the judiciary is inajaribu kumzuia si achieve like
kazi yake.
Yes. And he, at some point they decided to meet in State House. I don't know whether it was in State House or Harambee House. The president met with the Chief Justice, and I remember back then the then president of the Law Society of Kenya, it was Eric Theuri. He came out and said, no, the Chief Justice is not supposed to be meeting with the president behind closed doors to discuss this thing about the courts issuing orders against the housing levy and the NHIF thing. You remember that time? And they eventually met, and I think hiyo kitu iliendelea.
We are where we are now.
Yeah, we are where we are. And I think, like you're saying, it's as if the executive they have reached their hands.
The virus may infect all the
other arms of government, such that there are no checks and balances anymore. Like, and I think that's why, like, the executive is doing whatever it's doing. The judiciary is silent. The legislature is just
status quo. Is kwanza legislature is are the rats to Nani's trumpet. Let's call it as it is. Because president akisema haya, you're seeing
the president is
jumping as high as the higher than they've been asked. Because abu ukiangalia the narrative that was there, if there was no maandamano at all, we would have been made to look like foolish people to even ask for our rights.
Exactly. And the sad thing is, you remember, call back to the last episode where we said the opposition that we have right now, it's very weak. And the reason, I remember you said that immediately after the elections, the president started
he pulled everyone to
his side.
Whatever tactics that were used, he ensured that he controlled, he had as much control of the house, because now he was, I don't know what tactics he was using, but he ensured that he onboarded as many to his party, and to I don't know how to put it, but alivuruta to as many as possible, that in the event you wanted to oppose Apple, it's not as balanced as we've been seeing it before, because rate ya before matters parliament, when we were talking about bills or any debates, opposition was at a 49-51 ratio versus what are they called, ruling whatever,
the majority versus the minority.
Majority was 49-51. Hivyo ndio imekuwa historically. But right now ukiangalia it's majority is almost 2/3. So hata watu akivote no matter how vocal they'll be,
hakuna mali.
So lazima tu tujiongelele, right?
But heading over to Wednesday now is when the president came out again and gave that is when he decided to tone down and
his speech, and I think,
and that is the day he withdrew the nini.
He withdrew the Ali withdraw, which he doesn't even have the
he doesn't even have the
the authority to withdraw. He's either supposed to reject or assent it, right?
Yes.
Wednesday is when he withdrew it. The terms probably Ali misquote too, but in summary he was saying, I'm not going to sign. But unaona
he conceded.
Ali conceded. But unaona it did not need to get to that point, because now going back to the entire conversation tumekuwa nayo mpaka sahi, ilibidi watu approximately 20 million waandamane in almost all counties ndio usikie. And if you, by there, I like the efforts that have been put by Gen Zs, millennials, and everyone else, because ukiangalia whatever they are quoting as public participation is not public participation as it should be. Call back to, you remember when I know some of the conversations that are going to be put forward is constitution is something big, but ukiangalia how it was back then when we were coming up with the constitution year 2010, it was everywhere. Have you read the constitution? We'll give you a free copy, just soma and give us your input. That was number one. And when I think about the participation that is required whenever a bill is being read, it should be of the same vigor, because easy changes, ukiangalia the changes that are being implied on the finance bill and all the other bills that are in consideration, because I know we haven't mentioned the Land Act, the Land Amendment Bill that I'm hearing it's on the second reading, which I think, guys, is also something we need to look out for and just ensure that pia isipite, because some of the references in watu walikuwa nasema ati watu watakuwa nalipa tax na mashamba zao, it wasn't actually on the finance bill, it was on this land amendment bill that now is supposed, if it goes after the second reading, again will be assented by the president. But they need, it's a requirement that public participation has to be there. Public participation meaning that tunafaa tuambie this is what's happening, this bill, these are the things. But ukiangalia what people are doing, mimi mwenyewe ningekuja ni digest then niwaambie wewe umesoma. And what I was saying is I like that this is what people are doing, because if there's something that the current regime has proven to us is that they cannot be trusted with any decision making that affects Kenyans. If we trust them, it will be to our own detriment. So now this is just a call to everyone who has been doing that. For the next foreseeable future, we need to just go through all these bills that are coming to us, all these amendments, all this information yenye wanangangana kutengenezea huko juu na inakuja inatucharaza huko chini, si tu tunajipata hati real estate
ilishapita kitambo.
Imagine for a land amendment bill, like I remember, now let me also I don't want to call out any names, but if you look at there was a query that was put out to majority leader, and he was asked part of a conversation that was coming up on the finance bill was that there's a clause that addresses the freehold versus versus leasehold land, and it's introducing tax on freehold land, right? You know, the obligation there, I feel, for the majority leader was to take that opportunity to educate Kenyans, because he also has a civil duty. He's a representative of the people. He's the one who's supposed to tell us that, hey, unaona civil education, civic education. Nimeshinda nikisema civil kutoka mwanzo. Civic education. Sorry for hizo times nimesema civil. Now you get it, it's civic. He also needed to take it as an opportunity to educate the citizens who have been misguided by the information that's on the ethos. Aseme that, hey, by the way, the finance bill doesn't mention anything about the freehold versus leasehold land. But that said, there is a different bill referred to the to the lands amendment bill, whatever it's being called, on any information that addresses the land. Si ati unaenda tu na unajifanya ati it's all clean sheets, because now if you pull under the skirt unaona these guys wanataka tu ni kukula na kumaliza, lakini mixed na ni bomba sahi. Hawezi jaribu kufanya hizo vitu sahi, because like you're saying, people watajaribu, but they won't do it like as silently ama as officially venye walikuwa wanafanya kitambo. Sahi people are reading those proposed bills, people are dissecting them, they are sharing information on X, on Twitter, on TikTok. On those other platforms, so they won't just do it and sisi next year tunakuja kushtukia where you have not paid your rates or rent for shamba and you've not been paying ever since upate shamba. So unapata rates, then they're telling kwa sababu hii rates ina match ya shamba, inukia hii shamba. And then when you ask how, since when, they'll tell you, see, we passed the Land Amendment Act just a few months ago. And then no, I didn't know. Now we know what is happening. Like you're saying, it's in the, I think, second reading. And that is another discussion that I'm sure Kenyans were very much involved in. And I doubt that the president will even assent to that bill, because if he does, then he shall have to face the wrath of the citizens, because I don't think people will take it. Hiyo na hata tusiangalia wanasema, if you do not pay those rates or those rents, then the government can repossess your land. They can repossess. Okay, in summary, part of the conversation is if you don't pay those rates, first of all, you can't transfer without clearing that balance. So now again inamaanisha bei ya shamba itakuwa exorbitant, because now think of Haron mwenye mimi nimeamua na kiburi yangu sitailipa hizi bei, then saini nimesota ama enzi zangu za zinaitwa za usoni ama za kisogoni in my nikimalizia maisha niseme acha niuze haka kabroti nitengeneze that bill, I'll foot it over to you, who wants to buy that. If it was 1.2 na niambiwe rates ni 750k, what's my new price? 1750. Exactly. Yeah. So unaona, as in, it's just, but I'm loving the fact that we are very much involved, and I doubt that these guys, okay, even if they manage to pass it, I know there will be a lot of backlash from the public, and that is something that I'm really proud of, especially, and that's why I was saying, what a time to be alive in Kenya, like right now. It's such a great time, like unaona, it's true that it's good to be this involved, but unaona, I'd say I'm almost angry at the government for as it should be, putting us in this position. We have to check them for their own responsibilities. Unaona, like tuangalia hata context ya nyumba. Okay, I like to put things niziweke in the smallest concept possible, alafu we bloat it up to now how it is government of Kenya. But tukiangalia kwa responsibilities za nyumba, if now you have decided in your matrimony that your roles are as the traditional roles, that husband wife, kazi ya bwana tunajua ni kutafuta pesa na na kuleta whatever.
Yeah, bibi ni kutumia pesa.
Bibi ni kutumia pesa. And also forgive my whatever. But ikifika mahali that you as now, even wacha tuseme hata the kids ama whoever in the family, you cannot even trust kazi ya bwana kwa nyumba, then it's very unfortunate.
Amata ya bibi.
Amata ya bibi that hata you can't trust that sata anafaa ende apike
na utano. Lapa nime vitu za nyumba lakini alienda salon.
No, it's okay, alienda salon ni sawa, labda anataka
kwa mrembo. But tumeagree hii pesa ni ya ya food ya watoto.
So unaelewa, it just destabilizes the whole agreement. It makes an otherwise orderly house look disheveled. Inakaa tu inakaa haywire. That unaona, as the kids in the house, you will grow up probably even having some level of hatred to the parents who put you through this. So as in pia mimi niko nako that our watu, we shouldn't be telling them how to do their job. We have trusted
it's an issue with integrity, and call back to I think chapter 6 of the 2010 constitution. That one media washinanga wakiongelelea every other time, like even during elections, some politicians kuna na some integrity issues around their candidature. So it's always been there. Corruption ndio hiyo, we trust them to do this thing, they do not do it. It's all about that. They do not do what we expect them to do. Which is very sad by the way. But again, like I'm saying, what a time to be alive in Kenya, and please let us keep on just engaging and getting involved in matters politics. And I'm sure our government
implement the watchdog mentality.
Exactly.
That watu it's clear that wakiachiwa a foot, they will take a mile.
Exactly.
And if we let them run it the way they want, most of us will not survive.
And mostly the people that will suffer most are the future generations, because
ukiangalia hata implementation zao si hata future, it's us, inaanza na sisi. So future generations by extensions zile nyaunyuzimetucharaza zita double down kwa,
and our children will ask us, where were you when these things were being passed? Where were you when all these things were happening? So for me I don't want to answer those questions. I want to tell them we were very involved, this could have happened, but tulizuia
shamba ulikuwa myself.
Atu kazi ulikuwa tu nikaela swali watu uliza ati my parents walikuwa wapi? My parents wengine wakigrab land time ya kina Kenyatta na Moi. Wao walikuwa tu huku. But anyway,
ananunua manduthi yake.
But anyway, on that Wednesday as well, immediately after the president gave his speech, we saw the deputy president as well give a speech in Mombasa. And your speech by the hata sidhani nilisikiza wote juu at some point tu niliboeka nikapata tu nimeitoa. But what I remember, the highlight was he was
calling for some resignations.
From the director of the National Intelligence Service, NIS, I think it's Nurdin Haji. And alikuwa anasema ati that the director of the NIS failed the president by not giving the president the proper intel. And I'm like, what the F is this guy talking about? Because it was very clear, the whole country mood yake ilikuwa, we do not want this bill. So what other intel did the president require from the NIS?
Now it's not for the NIS's scope to even give us intel, because that's where the president was even meant to rely on parliament for that specific intel. Ukiangalia it's interesting that you've said that, because hapa tukiangalia root cause of the entire problem, hapa sasa root cause analysis ISO 8001
ilikuwa 9001.
No, sorry, 9001. But tukiangalia root cause analysis, protests are only the outcomes. And if you're trying to sort out protests from the country, then you're not sorting out the issue, which means it will still pop up. And this is not hii hapa si mambo ya prophecy, si mambo ya nini. General knowledge will tell you that if you don't address the root of the problem, we'll be here in some other way, shape or form, whether you like it or not. So ukiangalia conversation ya the DP, I also listened in, and me by the way,
I got triggered at some point and I didn't even finish it because I was like, what are these?
Nilichoka na speeches zote mbili because I listened into the first one. I remember I was in a meeting, then nikatoka nikarewind kidogo nikasikiza the first one, then nikasikiza cause zilikuwa back to back. Wanacheza Kendrick. But ukiangalia first of all, the president's speech was choreographed in the sense that haikukuwa inatoka, it wasn't from a genuine source. It wasn't
I'd call it, I wouldn't say it was sincere. It wasn't sincere. It was just because I think the speech that he gave on the evening of June 25th was more sincere, and that is the true president. That is his real career. June 26th
ilikuwa ya ku manage the rhetoric, ya ku manage now everything, which I would say to some extent ili manage, but unaona it was too late, and it was that very unfortunate that we had to lose lives for us to have that come out of him.
And even in that speech, he did not express remorse or even offer condolences to the families of the people who died. I think he just mentioned it just kidogo, like a sentence kamoja in passing, but there wasn't no. Plus, I don't even think he remanded his police
for their actions and what they've continued to do. And I know we've only talked about all the people who are, I'm calling it massacred intentionally, people who are massacred. We haven't even talked about the abductions, which again are also illegal and are being done under this regime's watch. So that's what ilini put off na his second speech. First speech, true face. Second speech, had to wear the mask because he remembered that he's controlling and
I think that speech, the speech that he gave on the second day, the much, the toned down speech, the conciliatory one, I think it was very much influenced by the Western powers. I'm assuming the US, the EU, the international community. They were like, and maybe even the business community, they were like, hey, by the way, you guy, you need to tone down. This is not the time to, chest thump. You need to listen to the people. Maybe this is not the direction that you need to be taking right now. So I think that is what informed actually him toning down and just conceding eventually, and but actually pole acha ni digress kidogo. Ile speech ya kwanza, I saw someone on TikTok alienda ati akaipaste kwa chat GPT, and then
ilikuwa 97% plagiarized.
They saw that it was
97. So kile tu alibadilisha ni and the
and kuweka jina Kenya huko katikati. So I was like, well, they didn't even take time to write a proper speech, and I think that is why that speech iliuma nje hiyo.
But unaona, to some extent it's to his own fault, because again, if you've put this much effort to gain control of all the other arms, then who tells you what the people are thinking? Unaona, now that's working against him.
Even he's
worked so hard to ensure that everyone is aligned, that they will push his agenda, that when down here no one is favoring that agenda, there's no one to tell him.
There's no one to tell the king that he's naked.
That hakuna mtu, there's no one, because everyone is singing his praises huko juu. Na ukumbuka huku chini as the day goes by, is becoming less favorable. Alikuwa anasema DP alikuwa anasema ati whether
ati him and President Ruto at one point they were the darling of the people of Kenya. I'm like,
sawa bas. But unaona, and that's why I was saying now ukiangalia hizo speeches mbili, they were slightly disconnected from the
very
because again they are not addressing the root cause. A tactical president mwenye ako na roho ya who has the people at heart, angeangalia aseme what got us here. How did we miss all this revolt tukafika kwa protest? Why are people dying? And not just the president, kwa sababu deputy president amesema I am the whisperer to the president. It's my role to guide him on what is right and what is off. Mbona last minute senye watu washapoteza maisha, my friend? Mbona ni hapo ndo unakuja unasema ati I have always been telling him? Then clearly it means there's something you're doing that is off. Kwa sababu kama you have always been telling him na ilifika mpaka people are protesting and they even penetrated parliament, which has never been done before, hawezi sema ati I've always been telling him.
But mimi just to be the devil's advocate here, anaweza kuwa amekuwa akimwambia, but the issue is the president never listens, because you had someone say here on TV that the president never listens to even his advisors. He's actually the one who advises his advisors on how to advise him, as in it's if inaitango ile sikio la kufa halisikii dawa. So I think the president is just seem to kuambilika.
Sikio la kufa.
Yes, seem to kuambilika. So unaweza shinda ukimwambia lakini hata sikia anything.
But unaona, again, it's unfortunate that we have now, if that's the conversation we have as far as the president is concerned, it's unfortunate, but does that mean that you forget your role? Because either way tulikuweka hapo ufanye nini?
Mi nitakwambia, by the way, I will tell you, it's like you know, as a good friend, I'll tell you, okay, by the way, this path that you're on, it's not CC path. I'll tell you today, tomorrow, the following day, wewe nikiona utaki kunisikia. At the end of the day, it's for you to decide whether you want to listen to me, because at the same time, maybe there's someone else telling you, like, this is actually the right path. You're on the right path. So it's up to you to, like, you know, just to gauge and decide.
But then again, I'm really wondering dynamics za huko juu zina play aje. But if it's in the same way as a household does, then
I think my personal opinion is that this president is not someone who listens. He ni ule mtu wa my way, it's either my way or the highway, like
my way ama yes. Actually kuna speeches zenye amesema either ulipe tax hapa ama uende ulipe tax za mbinguni.
Actually, right? Even he actually told people, you remember that time that thing had gone viral at some point, like mambo ni matatu, sijui either usijui fanya nini, what were the options that he was giving people?
I don't remember, but me mpaka
I actually don't remember, but moja ilikuwa sijui either sijui ulipe tax, observe the law ama uende mbinguni. And even at that time kulikuwa na abductions kidogo hapa kule. So but anyway, moving from criminals to sons and daughters to the international community, did you see like how I saw protest in the US, Washington DC, Kenyan embassy?
Oh yes, I saw that.
I saw protests here in LA, I think in the UK, Kenyan embassy as well. Like several embassies, Kenyan embassies abroad, kulikuwa na protest, like Kenyans in the diaspora organized protest, and they were just saying the same thing. You guys need to listen to these young people. They actually have something that they valid that they're expressing. You need to sit down and listen to them. And that one I actually like felt really, really nice about that, because those are Kenyans who are out there, but they are like, we are still with you guys. We may not be in Kenya right now, but the cause is still the same. We share the same vision and the same passion and need for this country, which was really awesome by the way.
And also just to also acknowledge the level of involvement that people in the diaspora have had has been very interesting to watch. Then also I think the other thing that happened was how many embassies sent a communication to the president?
So many. Like for example, I think the EU ilituma EU has like, I don't know, maybe over 20 countries. Like I think like most of them, if not all of them, actually sent it. I think the US as well. I don't know whether African countries did that, but I remember the EU and the
Jacob
US
Zuma
specifically.
said something about
it.
It.
He said something. But Nani, Julius Malema as
Sorry,
well.
not Zuma. Julius Malema.
The EFF.
Sorry, my
the head
correction.
of the EFF party in South Africa also sent something.
Jacob Zuma. It's Julius Malema.
And then nilikuwa nacheki online, because even like TikTokers online from Africa, all over Africa, they were saying, hey, by the you Kenyans, by the you guys are like the realest OGs. Like what you've done, I don't think any other African country has done it, sub-Saharan Africa especially. Like you have inspired us. We also like need to follow your nini. Tukiona tumeoppressiwa, we follow that nini. But I saw the statement by Julius Malema, and he was also like,
shouting out.
Yes, shouting
like
out Kenyans. And he was also very saddened by the loss of lives. And niliona say TikTok wakisema, especially Kenyans, hey, nyinyi wa South Africa mungetupatia Julius Malema bana.
Julius Malema tuonyeshe vile mambo inafanywanga.
Do you know Julius Malema? Out of all the candidates in the just concluded, I think ilikuwa like last month,
the election
in South Africa. Mi nilikuwa tunajua Ramaphosa, who is the current president. Na Malema. The second guy who came second from a party I think called EP, he's a white guy. I didn't know him. Nani pia alikuwa, Jacob Zuma alikuwa, but alikuwa sijui number 4. But Malema is the one that most Africans actually knew, because hata ukienda TikTok, Twitter, videos mob utapata nazo tu ni za Malema.
Very vocal about it's called neocolonialism, and all the current affairs that are affecting Africa in general. So ukiangalia most now the conversation that has been out there is that these bills that are coming in have received a lot of influence from the international organizations calling out IMF and whatnot, because
World
it's
Bank,
IMF, World Bank. It's not a coincidence that July 13th, one of the comments from IMF is, we have revised our lending, but are recommending that kukuwe na some taxes ABC to be considered. Then kuna kibill kinakuja kenye tu kinasema tax. Oi. Unaget? So he's been very vocal. Julius Malema has been very vocal, and ukipitia tu content yake, you see that he's someone who has Africans at heart.
That is a true Pan-African. So a lot of guys just were shouting out Kenyans, and it's very nice to see that like people are still supporting us out there, and not just Africa, by the peer countries zingine. They are like, hey, you guys go man, say if you fighting an oppressive regime ama an oppressive finance bill, then more power to you guys. So that was awesome. I don't know. Is there anything else that we have not talked about? I'm trying to think.
We have taken a lot of detours that is now addressed everything that we needed to cover. Imekuwa so intertwined that awezi patati. This is the bit.
But something else that I saw. Actually, this is the irony. I'ma let us address some of the ironies during this period. So one of them is,
one of who?
One of the things that I found to be very
ironic. Ironic scenarios.
Yes, is the fact that just I think it was a day before June 25th, President Ruto saw off the first contingent of Kenyan police, 400 police officers to Haiti. So by the time those guys I think were landing in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, protests were high gear huku,
tulikuwa tumesema huku watatutambua hapa Kenya.
And the president had deployed the KDF on his own people here. So for me, it was very weird.
It's ironic. Very true.
The people you're deploying KDF here in Kenya because you're saying that the police
are overpowered
by the peaceful protesters. Yet
umetuma makara wengine
kule. And you remember the Haitian gangs, those guys are armed, they have guns, they have those guys si ati ni watu wa kurusha mawe ama nini, it's they
wana water bottles
exactly
na face masks
exactly. And the leader of the Haitian gang, I think it's called I can't remember his full name, but his nickname is Barbecue. Yes, he said that any external intervention he anaichukulia kama
will be met in kind.
Yes,
hakuna itakuwa full gear.
Exactly. So as in me, I found that
watu kudedi huko na sisi hapa, he needed them here.
Yes,
to just ensure that the protests were peaceful.
Yes, and our policy wenye anatuma huko kwenye kuko na armed gangs, like ndio bado wenye wako hapa wameshindwa na peaceful protesters. So for me it didn't make any sense.
So in summary, ametuma watu wetu kwenda kudedi for no reason.
Yeah,
because
it's true.
What fight do we have with Haiti?
We don't have any fight with them, by the way, and I don't even know why we are getting involved there, because here at home, and someone asked the president the same question while he was on his tour of the US state visit. Someone asked him, like, you're sending police officers to Haiti, but here in Kenya, I think I don't know whether it's easy places inakwanga na issue na banditry. Kapedo and some other places there. We have issues there, like kuna issues like every day huko. Why are you sending police officers there yet we have issues here? Also, why are you sending police officers there yet we have demonstrations here? They should be here taking care of the situation that we have
in Kenya.
Yes. And the other irony that I found with this whole situation is the president in his address on June 25th, he said that I think one of his duties is to protect and uphold the Kenyan constitution. And I was like, do you know, by the courts said that it is unconstitutional for us to be sending police officers to Haiti. You remember, like a few months ago.
Yeah.
But the president has defied that court order and he's like, we are going to Haiti. I think we've already received money from the US, so we have to go to Haiti. He's already committed to this. But the courts have said no. We are not supposed to be sending police to Haiti. But you're going against
your own constitution, your own now that's judiciary. You're going against your judiciary that is supposed to keep you in check.
Yes, and you're going against a court order. So if you're going against a court order, like which country are we living in? What are we doing? As in, for me, I found that to be very
distasteful.
Very distasteful. So especially coming from the president. I don't know. There's something else that I found to be weird,
ironic,
but I can't remember it. If I remember it, I'll just say it. Kama tutakuwa tumemaliza show.
Ama utaipost kwa chat.
Ama nitaipost kwa nini. Also pia, like the fact that they were abducting people like unlawfully, and then those people, I think as per our constitution, you're not supposed to be held for more than 24 hours before being presented to a law of court. And even without counsel. So the fact that you're holding people for this long and you're abducting them just unlawfully, like it's against the constitution. The constitution that you're still saying
that you need to uphold.
So for me, and again, you're going against the will of the people by shoving this bill down our throats, because we said we don't want it.
Sema hata bills, kwa sababu sasa
it's not just bills.
One bill.
Yes,
hizi bills zote
exactly.
Akienda kubargain huko, we were not involved. Sasa ni sisi anataka sisi ndio tukae na hizo consequences, because again yeye hatapata hizi consequences. Au sasa okay, sitaki kusema elite, but hao ni watu wenye hawataguswa of course. Sisi ndio tubaki huku chini tukiumia, tukiteseka ati kwa sababu tuko na finance bill, tuko na land amendment bill, tuko na sijui gani, there are 3 more zenye zilikuwa zina affect as in general. And me sitaki hii yenye mtu anasema ati these people haven't read the bill because as a member of parliament, I'm a member of the senate. Part of your obligation, you have a civic duty to your people. That ukiona watu wanasema ati hii bill ni mbaya, hizo mikutano mnaenda kwa makanisa, you need to go and say the bill, this is what it's saying. And if those are the leaders, hata tusiwaite leaders, those are the people I want to see in parliament. When wanasema okay, kwa hiyo bill this is what it is saying, because ukiangalia back then what was happening, because there was opposition, someone would come outright and say, know that the consequence of this bill is right. That was forming part of the civic education. But because everyone is dancing to the executive songs, kile tu anatoka kusema ni you don't know what you're saying. Are you going to tell us anything about that bill? If you're not, kachini unyamaze, right? Because now si tukisema, and it's because tumesoma hiyo bill na tukaona ABC is affecting us negatively, don't want it. Because we've already committed ourselves to such an extent that we're feeling that we can't commit anymore. But unataka more commitment. To tax like a first world country, but services ni
that rate, which doesn't make any sense.
And now mention of all the ironic things that were happening. I don't know what you think about the apologies that have been coming in by the members of parliament.
Those were I don't believe any of those apologies, and I won't even accept them. And you remember the following day when the president conceded finally. And this one I want to say concede in quotes, because I also don't trust the president. I don't believe what he said.
But we need to be watchdogs.
Yes.
We need to hear everything they're doing. Mtu tu yote parliament akisneeze unafuata. Because they can't be trusted at all.
So you remember that time when the president eventually said, I concede and I will not assent to this bill. The members of parliament who are behind him started clapping. And I'm like, these are the same members who are forcing this bill on us in parliament. They all voted yes. So and now you have already what are you doing, by the way? It is so disingenuous, by the way. So for me, I do not trust those apologies, and I do not believe them when they actually give those apologies, to be honest with you. So hakuna kitu kayo. And I also do not believe the president when he says that he wants to bring people together, let us talk. Now we shall enforce austerity measures. We shall not, buy new cars for MPs and, CSs. We shall cut down on our spending. We shall cut down on our traveling. I do not believe any of that, to be honest. Because it's still the lies that he's been giving us ever since he was elected.
And that's why I'm saying, hata pia mimi, hiyo speech yake ya pili, I didn't buy anything from there. Kwa sababu, imerudi back to the promises.
The promises.
Kwani bado tuna campaign.
By the way, unaweza shindwa. And as in, so for me, actually that brings us to the way forward. Because niliona speech yake akisema ati I want us to constitute sijui a dialogue committee, representatives from the church, representatives from the civil society, representatives from the youth, from the Gen Zs,
we need 100 members in atakuwa anatuongelesha.
That one I do not trust it, not one bit, to be honest with you.
And the
we may have
who've self-elected.
We may have that conversation. It may happen, but whatever whatever people will agree on from that dialogue committee, they will not implement it. That one, I don't believe that they will. There is no goodwill from the government. There is no intention for them to make any changes, implement any changes. So they've had all this time to do all those things. They have not done them. So right now they're just trying to pacify the whole situation. They're just trying to kutupulizia kidogo, by the way, let us just calm down kidogo, we are working on this.
tumetenga
tumetenga
kupuliza
ni saa
so unfortunate.
For me, I don't believe it. So yes, the dialogue may, it may happen, but for me, I don't.
One of the things I like about the, let me call it the current representation or the movement that we're having now, is that there was a decision from the get-go that this movement would be faceless.
Yeah.
So if anyone comes out aseme mimi ndio representative, number one umekanseliwa. You've been cancelled from that party.
Very fast.
In summary.
Very fast.
So hata ukijifanya ati your representatives, I was seeing those guys who are saying that they are.
And now we have formed a Gen Z party. We call upon you to support us. When we do that, please support us. Hey, those guys were cancelled, like, seriously.
Kuna watu. There these guys who also came up. Immediately the president called out for the representation. There also these guys who came on media and were like, this is what we're asking the government, and guys are like,
and one of those guys, one of the spokesperson, I saw someone went to the archives akapata picha ya President Ruto
akiwa na hako
kajamaa ile time alikuwa anaenda debate ya kwanza ya presidential debate, au kajamaa kako hapo nyuma. So the people are like, where you guy, what are you telling us? Wewe ni mtu wa huyu jamaa, president ni mtu wako
to the songs.
So plus, like he said, and like Gen Zs have said, this is a faceless movement, it's a tribeless movement. It is not affiliate to any party, any political party. So please let no one fool you that they are the leader of the Gen Zs. So and that's why I'm even wondering how we'll even have conversation with these people, and yet they are no clear representatives. Yeah.
And so I'm thinking at the moment that's the best way to keep them accountable. And now in that conversation of how do we move forward, for us to move forward, it not even for us, the intent as in now for us to agree that I don't know why I'm putting in measures. In summary, what has proven to work is there needs to be a faceless movement that cannot be corrupted.
Yes.
Kwa sababu if there's one thing we are sure about, is that in some way, shape or form, this regime will corrupt.
It will throw money at you.
Person it identifies, or whatever party it identifies, so that you dance to their music na ukandamize wananchi.
Exactly.
So it needs to maintain your anonymity is very important. Number two, the fact that I'm also appreciative about this movement is ni watu wenye by the way ni watu tu tumechoka na corruption. Because sai atujifanyi ati it's because our government is not putting the correct measures. It's because hii pesa yote yenye mnaitisha inaenda tu kwa corruption.
True.
That the conversation we were having last time was that how many billions are being lost to corruption. That this bill was just a bill that was feeding into all the corruption that will take place immediately after. That immediately wapate hizo pesa, because now ukiangalia zile ma reports zote za Auditor General zinasema how much money has been lost.
A lot of money, billions and billions of shillings by the way.
And we are saying mutatu tax hizi zote tena zipotee in the same fashion, because historically within the 2 and what years that you've been in play, no one has been held accountable. Remember, Auditor General amesema nimefika sijui e-citizen, how much money has been lost.
15.5 billion.
Nimefika sijui wapi, how much money has been lost. This is a third report, sijui how much money has been lost. What is happening? Nothing.
And we never see any action. There's no accountability. And I think that is one of the things that people are asking for. We need accountability, by the way, to be honest. And we need anyone implicated in graft, in corruption, we need them to be prosecuted. Because right now, hizo cases zinapeleka ngokokoti, unasikia tu 3 months down the line,
someone was released.
Ishapotelea hivyo.
Ilikuwa there's this case yenye someone took 100 million. I forget what case it is. If you remember, please just share it on the comments. Went with 100 million, akapeleka koti, then was let off
25 million. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't make
Huu
sense.
ni mtu mwenye anafaa atusaidie kurudi kusasa
Arudishe.
generate your tax, arudishe
Na bado
na
aende
alete
ndani.
mpaka interest.
Na aende ndani pia.
Arudishe apeane whatever money amegenerate and what not. So that tupate tax.
People are actually saying, I think one of the many demands that the Gen Zs have is corruption needs to be classified as a capital offense. Hiyo hakuna ati it needs to be placed in the same rank na vitu kama murder, robbery with violence, things like that. Because sai Kenya corruption ni kitu tu normal.
It goes so viral that now at a parliament and whoever is willing to include it wa budget for corruption. So you're budgeting for
budgeted corruption. So I think the other things zenye nilikuwa naona akisema demands kulikuwa na hiyo abolishing the funding for the office of the first lady and office of the second first lady. No, office of the first lady and office of the second lady. And then pia I think even the office of the prime cabinet secretary, Musalia Mudavadi. Yo, actually it's nowhere in the constitution by the way. It's very unconstitutional. Offices of the chief administrative secretaries, CASs, the courts declared those offices unconstitutional. So yeah.
Na bado anakula tu mshahara.
Actually, speaking of mshahara, salaries za MPs hizo zinafaa ziangaliwe vizuri sana. MPs, cabinet secretaries, tu hizo salaries zao tunafaa tuziangalie. Zote zinafaa zislashiwe vizuri. But MPs cannot be earning more than doctors in this country.
Very true.
Yeah, and we also even have a shortage of doctors. All this money needs to be taken now to all those other sectors. Health, education, hiring teachers, hiring doctors. Yeah, we should not be having doctors striking because of lack of, enough numbers.
Yeah, na nilikuwa naona pia somewhere that Kupet are also planning to strike sijui nini because
yara nasema all these groups they need to strike at the same time. Doctors, Kupet, teachers, all those issues out the address. Yes, Viva, because we have a lot of money that is being wasted, yet we are saying that we cannot hire JSS teachers, we cannot
until now that the finance bill hasn't passed and we will have to cut down on
no. So I think the other demand was also that we need to abolish the housing levy and we need a transparent audit of how the money that has already been contributed to the scheme, it has been utilized, and any balances there needs to be refunded to the contributors. Corruption, of course, wastage in government, and those are among the zile vitu kadhaa zenye demands bado ni mingi, list inaendelea kukua kubwa.
Address how we'll be moving.
Easy foreign trips zenye wanashinda wakienda, hizo waachane nazo. Allowances zenye sawa wanakula by the my friend, unaweza zisikia hata unaweza lia machozi because it's something
you can live on allowances.
I actually came across something here that some of the benefits that the MPs get include mortgage 35 million shillings, car grant 8 million shillings, mileage depending on where your MP comes from, but it's not less than 300,000 shillings a month.
300,000.
Yeah, airtime 25k a month, car maintenance 400k a month, health insurance cover 10 million shillings, outpatient 300k a month, dental care 150k a month, optical care 150k a month, salary almost 1 million a month, allowances depending with the committees that you're a member of, overseas trips 2 each year, and then the allowance is 2 to 5 million a year, control of CDF kitty 175 million a year, and then national government projects 100 million to 1 billion.
CDF was already declared unconstitutional.
Yes, right? That is the other thing that was declared unconstitutional. And then that is another irony. These guys are saying that they wamewekwa hapo ku uphold the constitution, yet whatever it is they are doing
is unconstitutional. So, you are going through that conversation and nimeona travels wamepewa almost 400k.
Yeah.
That's a month or a year?
What the mileage? Mileage is 300k a month.
A month.
Minimum, depending on where your MP comes from. So if your MP comes from place far kidogo, then of course mileage yake itakuwa a lot higher.
So inamaanisha we're actually paying these people enough for them to stay wherever they
Yes.
to their respective counties.
Yeah.
Na wakuje mpaka parliament if need be.
Na walikuwa wanaambiwa si lazima
Na mtu the first thing ukishapata kura za watu una relocate.
Na relocate. Unaambiwa relocate ukae huku. Hiyo mileage ni ya nini hata tunakupatia? Airtime 25k a month ni mshahara wa watu. I think most Kenyans anapo 25k a month. This guy is barini. Hii tunaweza lia. So hizi vitu zote zinafaa zitolewe, hizi allowances. We are giving you allowances to sit in those committees. Yes. It doesn't make sense. So, and that's why these guys, they just
and that has fed into the entire frustration
yeah
that okay, nikiangalia from my pocket because I'm a tax paying citizen. I am paying you that much.
These are our taxes, by the way.
I am paying you that much. Alafu in the long run, what are you doing? Ni kukaa na kusema ati nitaonyesha hamjui. Call back to thick MP.
Insulting us, telling us we don't know, we are
ati we should not show
our ignorance. Yes. Mama amesoma bill, we should, and she knows what is best for us.
Mama knows best.
Kwanza that thick MP, because that's where I'm from. She's my MP. She really angered me with that statement. And it's not that just that statement. She gave like several more statements, you know, she doubled down on her statement. So which was very very
unfortunate.
So for her, nimeona by the pia online watu wamesema like we need to recall some of these MPs, which is a good move. We need to recall them and send a statement that we are the people and power resides with us.
If you don't want to represent us, we don't want you there.
Exactly.
And I think now in reference to the constitution and how difficult it is to recall MPs and whatnot, I know there's somewhere where it reads that at least an MP needs to have held the seat for 2 years before they
but si 2 years inaisha lini? Si ni August.
Me hapa nimekuwa impatient.
Ni August.
2 years is too long.
Actually inafaa ikuwe 1 year.
Hata inafaa iwe hata 3 months. Because ukiangalia the damage that these people are doing given 3 months, because if this bill has been in play for how long? About 1.5 months, right? Is it 2 months now?
With which one?
The finance bill yenye tuliwalazimisha wa reject.
Yenye president alisema ameconcede. I think wamekuwa wakiprepare ever since last year, but sasa ndio sasa wamekuwa for the past 1 month ndio imekuwa like, you know, hizo ma public participation, hizo ma issues zote. So sasa ndio like
tumeipata. So 6 months is reasonable. Yenye tukiangalia ujamaa afanye kazi arudishwe. Tumrudishe tuende elections,
because
we don't need you as our MP kama hizi ndio vitu unasema.
By that umenikumbusha one of the demands that we have as Gen Zs is we also need the IEBC constituted, because you remember after the elections IEBC ilikuwa, you know, the commissioners wengine wakaresign, wengine wakanini, and then it's like
nothing
we don't have an IEBC.
They are very busy passing finance bills that will kill us. Now they don't want to put up,
and I think that is a very deliberate
strategic
move.
And I was telling you, this guy but I like that he decided to last episode tulikuwa tunasema if you look at whatever the president has done, what hata tuseme the executive, if you look at whatever the executive has done, they've been playing chess with Kenyans. That when you want to do something to retaliate or ensure that they don't come through with it, walikuwa washa build up fence that you're throwing stones at a fence that has already been built. So they've been playing chess strategically. But I am liking that continuously, and I want to just request to a Kenyan that when you realize chess is what is being played, please rusha hiyo meza. we don't need to play games we don't need to play games.
We don't need to play games.
Turushe hiyo meza. Kama ni chess unapata it's chess. So ni chess anacheza. Rusha hiyo meza.
Turusha hiyo meza. Game isha mara moja.
Game isha because hapa now we're talking about lives and we're talking about our future. We're talking about our children's future, our children's children. For all of the people who are currently in the regime, they've made it very clear that they are focused with safeguarding the future of their generations. But ukiangalia role yao is safeguarding the future of the country. So hii conversation ingekuwa, how do we make Kenya more productive? How do we make how do we ensure that the employment rate has gone up? The employment rate is as high as it's been before. See conversations zenye unakuja hapa atini tunaongelelea brain drain.
True.
Kama unajipiga kifua na mambo ya brain drain, you've lost the argument.
True. Which is another whole conversation by the way, which we can spend a whole discussing. A whole day. Tari hata tushashinda a whole day tukiconverse. So I think we can just end it there. But I think even before we end it, we want to pass our sincere condolences to all the families who lost their loved ones during this period, during the protest, not just in Nairobi but in other counties as well. You know that your kids were fighting for the future of this country. So and I'm glad that people have come together, and I think there's actually even a till number to help people with
Mchanga. I've seen Mchanga online.
Yes.
And I've seen people have been very committed on those contributions. I think there's one that was being that had been shared by Kina Hanifa and Rosama, who have been very vocal on X, formerly Twitter, and they had an objective of getting to 20 million, which was achieved within 12 hours. And I'm really liking how Kenyans have come together to just ensure that if it's for the right cause, more power, more energy to that direction.
True.
And it's so sad that we've had to lose lives for us to get the change that is that we've been asking for, that is owed to us. As rightfully mentioned in the Constitution, it's owed to us that hizi ni vitu basic rights zetu. Hizo mambo za land, hizo mambo za high taxes, if we don't want it, we don't want it. And we are Kenyans. This is the way we want our country to be run. Si ati vile MPs wanataka, si ati vile our president wants. The numbers beat whatever you're saying, right? Tunasemanga hapa 24/7 hawezi cheza na numbers. Hawezi
bishana na numbers. We are the people, and sisi ndo hawezi bishana na the will of the people. So I think thank you to everyone who has either donated money, people who've been donating even blood. The people who actually went to donate blood, I think at KNH, for the people who are injured.
Multiple sites.
There are multiple sites. So that was very commendable. So thank you to you all for doing that. And
and keep the conversation going. And I like that from the get-go it was always about whatever you can do it. So if you can't protest on the road, protest online. If you can't protest online, support whoever needs to do whatever they need to do for us to ensure that at least we have the country steered in the right direction. Because right now it looks like this direction
but tutaforce direction, tutaforce our 180-degree turn. By the way, we have to force it.
Also, just share your inputs about how probably you feel this country should be run. What are some of the things that have gone under our noses? Because by the way, with the finance bill, it was clear to me that a lot has been going under our noses. And MPs, whatever, all the arms of the government have been meriting from it. That one of the things we were seeing is that either members of parliament or whatnot work on businesses that are meriting from whatever bills they've put in place. This has been going right under our nose. I think there was also a bill that was coming to amend the is it an act that would stop it from being conflict of interest. Guys, just also share in the comments, because
it's time to right those wrongs,
time to right those wrongs. It's time that we are all civic educators, because it looks like there's a lot that it doesn't look. A lot has been happening right under our noses, and if we don't do it, no one will.
True.
Now again, sisi hataki kwa wazazi wanauliza wewe ulikuwa tu maselfie sanye.
Azazi kwanza mimi wananikasirisha juu sasa unaona jika uliona hiyo clip ati they were going to hold prayers and singing hymns at the house.
Was it Riru?
It was the one at Molo.
It was
the house of the Molo MP Kimanikuri. They were praying for the house that was vandalized, and I'm like, you guys are praying for this house and singing burial songs there. It's like the house is dead, and there are people who actually lost their lives by the way, and you've not
done anything about it.
By the way, that's very shameful. By the older generations, hey, you guys need to shape up, bana. See, you guys. Mimi niliona by them. There's a lady niliona TikTok calling them out, and she was like, hey, but these guys are the ones letting us down, so please msiturudishe nyuma.
So do not for real tudanganyana ID.
ID by that tunazichukua 2027 our vote. And then I saw someone ran the numbers. They were saying like by 2027 I think tutakuwa na like 8 I don't know whether it was 14 million registered voters, and kwa hiyo group ya Gen Z's millennials there.
Gen Z's millennials and Gen Alphas people voting
exactly
for the first time.
So hizo hata by the kura zangu tunachukua tunazificha na hizi zetu tuna vote, because sai I'm sure all the Gen Z's and millennials and Gen Alphas will actually vote. It's not like the other elections. So yeah, unless
if you're not thinking about voting, just again nimesema sahi role yetu, we need to be civic educators.
Yes.
The reason we are in this conversation in the first place is that we either through participation or through not participating either put those people in power. True. That if you saw Alice is off from the word go now call back to the MPs MP wa Thika. If you voted or you didn't vote, where you played a role, so ikifika tu hivi saa ya kutafuta kura yako, please ensure saa hii salamu haitakuwa ati unajua salamu imekuwa reject. Saa hii salamu ni uko na kura
umepiga kura.
And I know it's opening up next year. Is it next year?
I think so.
Okay.
So your time by the I'm hoping that tutakuwa na drive the same ya ku remind wa say you need to go register to vote, need to go and register,
and as well saying this not with the expectation that watu tunawatoa 2027. It's still with the expectation that we also have an obligation to ensure right now everything goes right. So if it's we need to recall, let's recall. If it's we need to speak up against these bills that are really affecting us negatively, let's speak about them and let us ensure that people are aware about what is happening. I like there's a conversation that I was having with one of my colleagues or one of my friends. Alikuwa anaulizwa now with the older generation, wacha tuseme Gen X, but you guys, why are you making so much noise about this bill? Bills are always passed historically. Si mwache tu ipite na mtulie. And I like that the conversation was, okay, do you know that the reason we don't want this bill to move forward is because one, pads zita shoot up, because it means that all imports the pads, which is about I think 95% bei zao zitapanda. It means that we won't be able to afford pads. Diapers again, it means that ile story ati mothers used to be applauded for having the whitest nappies, tunarudi huko because now again people won't be able to afford vitu kama hizo. Bread, and I know when I say bread is for a general term, and all the other things that would have a trickle-down effect. Immediately the bill was passed, because bill was talking about 1st of July. Hiyo ni mambo ya kesho, that stock tu ikiisha hivi everything else bei inaruka exponentially. And hizo ndio conversions zenye we need, that once you have the correct information through research and of course just going through all the documentation that these people are trying to put forward, you help educate anyone who doesn't have sufficient information.
True.
Because again, I mentioned that civic duty imebaki kwa si wa Kenya.
True.
And our MPs, our senators, everyone else is not playing the role that they need to play on civic education. So wacha tusukume. I think last time actually ya constitution, the obligation was IBC, right?
Oh,
was it called IBC back then, 2010? Haiko inaitwa IBC, it had a different name. After the constitution they
kulikuwa na interim independent electoral commission, IEC, if I'm not wrong.
Something of that sort. So it looks like the civic duty has been left for us. And mimi nimekubali that nitakuwa na, unajua Flacco was saying unaamka umekasirika.
Naingia Twitter
unakasirika, and I will agree to that role if it means that we need to hold them accountable, so that we drive out corruption from our environment. And we also ensure that whoever is on a position is running with the interest of the people. Si ati tu unaenda hapo unajua inakuwaga ile it's my time to eat, call back to all the books we've read, tumbo lisilo whatever, mayai waziri wa maradhi, and that just shows how naelewa. And again, I just want to applaud the people kwa sababu inafika mahali we were ending the episode.
By the way, funny enough, kuna there's a comment I came across on TikTok. A certain lady was saying they were expressing their frustration towards the older generations. So this lady was saying, my mother is taught kifo kisimani, sijui mayai, waziri wa mayai, tumbo lisilojaa. She taught all those books, yet it took her like forever for me to convince her that we need
as
to.
in mwalimu literally, and she's going through your content, and it's directly talking about how these people are just embezzling right in front of your eyes, but you're only taking it figuratively. You're not seeing it in your own context.
Stories. So it took a while before I understand that this is exactly what is happening in our country right now.
But I will say that if that's what needs to happen, let's do it.
Because even the civic education, it actually starts with your family members, your parents, your sisters, your elder sisters, people around you, by the way. Even before you go to like X, social media and whatever, start with the people around you to make sure that they are well informed
about whatever is happening.
Exactly.
So that by the time, if now we are talking about any form of election, mi staki kusikia ati mambo ya okay, I am really hoping that haitakuwa tu story ati I'm looking for the president, VP, governor, iwe the entire spectrum.
Yes.
That by the time you are voting, you know that
hakuna ile upusa ati ya sijui suti ati if it's UDA, everyone else you're not even looking, unaangalia nani unavotia hapa chini, MCA or senator or whatever. No, that one we are not doing anymore.
Let's be watchdogs.
Yeah. So I think that's it. Hey, that has been a long episode as well.
Part 2,
Part 2.
And I know probably the conversation that might come up is why are we spending this much time on now? It looks like now we are a political channel.
By the way, funny enough, easy episodes mbili, these are the only ones that we've done touching on politics. Usually we don't do that. But imefika ile point like we are saying, in responsibility,
it's everyone's responsibility. So we are always talking about how do you become the best person that you need to be. And if you think about all the episodes we've been talking about, part of the best person you need to become is also looking at your environment. And if you don't have a positive environment that also enhances your growth as a positive person, it's all for nothing. So we have been political because politics is part of the environment that is affecting an individual. So guys, as we're going on with these conversations, najua sahi it's so much about politics that it's difficult to even go through other things, but I like that ukiangalia everyone who has been on the protest or very keen about what's happening, you have taken the time to go through whatever is happening, but pia you also don't forget who you are, because again, even as individuals, najua si ati sote tunataka kuwa activists. Even in our societies, we'll need the engineers that will need to be engineers, we'll need the accountants, we need everyone else on the wide spectrum of opportunities that are out there. So although politics is part of the aspect of your life, angalia pia hizi zingine. If you also don't strike that balance, takaa kama hii regime yetu sahi.
And I think activism, it comes by default. Like every Kenyan should be like an activist by default. Like you need to be involved in the affairs of your country, because like you're saying, at the end of the day, politics, it determines, it influences your environment a lot. So if you do not pay attention to your politics, you will not be able to live the life that you want. Your business may not be able to thrive as as you would have loved. So it affects everything else. So so I think you can end the show for us. This one has been a long one.
Imekuwa ndefu na kila time tunajaribu kusummarize tena tutapata ka conversation. So if you're not already subscribed, please consider subscribing. If you like the content that we've just shared, you can also share with your colleagues. You can share with your family. Tulisema hii content ni kila mtu.
Content
ni. Hii hapa
mchoyo, share kitu.
Share. Hata kama wewe ndio president, share kitu bana. We are hoping to educate the masses and enlighten everyone. So that's been it from us. Like, share, subscribe, share your comments. We are very interested to see what people are talking about or what we've missed in our conversation. Otherwise, that's it from us. Till next time.
Deuces.
Deuces.